No.
Hello. Really sorry about all the technical hitches, but hopefully we got it right now. We've been on the phone to my son and he's hopefully put us in the right section now. So, back to the beginning. Welcome to new people. Tonight we've got lots to do. I'm going to carry on with the project we've all been working on together, and I've had a request from Angela in Switzerland to show you how I make heads busts. Okay, so we'll be doing that as much time as we've got this evening. So, I'm very hot now because it's all been a bit stressful getting online, but hopefully we'll be all right now. So, quick update. Rob, if you could show the picture of the mother and sons. This is the piece I've been working on. I was working on last time we met, and it's now finished. And I'm showing you a photograph of it because it's now been delivered to the clients. So I haven't got it anymore. But this was the finished product. And luckily the client was very happy with it. He felt it looked like his two sons and their mother, so that was all good. If you remember, okay, back to me now please, I was making pumpkins, papier-mache pumpkins to make with some nursery school children, and this was the little tiny pumpkins I made with them. Now we've got a couple of photographs to show you what happened when I made them. So the first one, and actually I had a message from Liz Gamble to say that she was going to have a go at making these with her grandson. So we've got some nice photos with her permission to show you of her grandson using my recipe and making the pumpkins. So we've got two pictures of him looking lovely and doing a great job. Is the other one there, Rob? There he is, concentrating very hard. And I also tried it out with my granddaughter, Fionn. And so here's a picture of her doing it. There she is, concentrating very hard, putting on all the papier-mâché on the armature of the pumpkin. And then I went off to this nursery school and I was there with 9 3-year-olds. And it was very messy, but lots of fun. And they made lots of, they did a really good job. So I made all the clay for them and an armature, and they put it all on to the armature, and then they painted them when they were dry. And then they had a little Halloween party, and then they all took their pumpkins home with them. So just flip through those now. We stuck on those. There's they were really cute actually, these children, and they really did well actually. They concentrated for a good long time actually. I thought they'd get fed up, but they didn't. They really enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to go back and do something else with them at some point, because I think they probably want to do something Christmassy maybe. The other thing I've been doing since I last saw you, I've been working on a piece which I've called The Frowning Man. So when we've seen these pictures, I'll show you what I'm
just going to go back to Liz's because she's joined us now.
Oh, right. Okay, Liz, I think you missed your grandson. There he is, making his pumpkin out of papier-mâché. So well done to him. Working very hard. Great, well done.
So where do you want?
Just back to me now, please. And show down onto the mat. So yeah, I've been working on this since I last saw you. I've made, actually finished this bust. Can you show it now down here? Which I'm calling The Frowning Man. And here it is. It's called The Frowning Man because he's frowning. And this was quite fun to do. He's got a really strong face. He's completely made up. He's not a real person. When I put this piece on Facebook, it was strange actually. Lots of people commented and said, oh, is it so-and-so, is it so-and-so? And it's nobody. I mean, he's just out of my head really, so he's nobody well known or that I know or anything like that. So there he is, and I'm going to put this piece in an exhibition in January. Okay, so that's that. I've also got 6 pieces in an exhibition at the moment, just locally. The other thing I've been doing since I last saw you was I've started a commission, which is this piece. This is in the very early stages. Now I think we've actually got with us this evening these two people, the people that have commissioned me to do this. And it's them sitting on a bench, obviously, and they are a lovely, loving couple, and I'm trying to capture the affection they have for each other. So there's quite a long way to go with this. I don't know whether I can say their names, Steve and Cindy. Steve, your head isn't finished yet by any means, so don't be alarmed. But if I take it off just to show you up close, I'm getting there. I've been working on this side of his face, and he's going to have a beard and a moustache. And it's strange actually, with Cindy, I found her much easier to do. She's got very strong features, and I found her quite straightforward to sculpt, and I think I've got a reasonable likeness of her, although it's not quite finished yet. Steve, on the other hand, I found really difficult until I put the brim of his cap on, because he, in all the photos I've got, the reference pictures, he seems to wear a hat like this most of the time. And as soon as I put this peak on the cap, suddenly I started to get a better feel for his face. So there's, as I said, there's a lot more to do to it, but I feel I'm getting there now. So I hope he'll agree. And if you'll notice that I've made a bench for them to sit on. That's made entirely from cardboard. I can't really show it to you now because it's covered in plastic, but you might be able to see a little bit here. So I think that's worked out quite well. So lots more to do on that, and next month when you come to watch, if you come back and watch this video, hopefully it will be finished, or certainly a long way further forward. So let's get on now with this piece, which we're all making together, those of you who are following along and making it together. So since I last saw you, I have done a little bit to it, because normally I don't touch it between from one month to the next, so that we do it all together. But for the sake of moving it on a little bit, I have done a bit to it. So I'll just talk you through what I've done. Obviously I've added the breasts just to give us more of an idea of the shape, because we're going to start putting the clothing on. The other thing I did was I just arched her back a little bit here, because I think the stance that in our reference picture, if you remember this is our reference picture, she is slightly arching her back. You can sort of see it in this picture, and obviously in that one. So what I did, it was quite drastic surgery, but you can see that it hasn't had any ill effect. What I did was I sliced across here and then just tipped it backwards, and then put some more papier-mache over the belly. And I like the way now that the belly slightly protrudes, and with the arch of the back here, I think it looks much more realistic. The other thing I did was I filled out the hips a little bit at the back as well, and just gave a bit more shape to the thighs. But this evening what we're going to do is to start on the clothing, and I'm going to sculpt the clothing, because she's got such skin tight jeans on, as you can see in this picture, that it'll take very little to actually show the impression of these jeans. So this is what we're going to do now, okay? So I don't want to spend all our session on this evening, because I want to try and get on to doing this head that we were talking about. But so I've got my clay here, papier-mache clay, nice and soft, freshly made yesterday. So what we'll do, I think we're going to start with the front of the jeans, and it's going to be very, very minimalist, this, because we really don't need to put very much on to suggest the jeans. So what I'm going to do, just to make the waistband first of all, so I'm going to take a little bit of clay and just roll it out like this, and then I'm just going to put it onto the piece like this, and just smooth it down so we get an impression of a waistband. Now I don't need to be too exact with this waistband because you'll see in the picture that her arms actually cover the top of the trousers, the jeans, so you won't actually see much of this bit, but just so that we know where we are, I'm just going to give a rough impression of this. A little bit more around the side. Oh, I'm so glad we got online this evening.
Keep it forward now.
Yeah, it's quite nerve-wracking when the technology doesn't work, but we got there in the end. Right. So you see I'm just using my fingers to do this. I'm going on round to the back of the jeans. What I should have said earlier is Rob is here as always to look at your messages and forward them on to me. So if you've got any questions, do just put them in the comments box and I'll try to answer them as we go along. I'm just getting my finger wet to spread the clay, stop it sticking too much. Join up the waistband there. So I'm keeping it all very close to the body because we don't want to lose the shape that we've created, because these jeans are so tight. They're more or less as if she's naked. So there we've created a little waistband going around here. We can neaten this up a bit later. Okay, so if we look at the back now, we just need to just fill in here a little bit because this is obviously more pronounced than it needs to be. So I'm just going to put some clay across there, and so we still retain the shape of the buttocks, but it's not quite as obvious. But we do want to keep this nice shape here so that we see the curve of the buttocks there. Actually quite shaky this evening. I think it's because of all the trauma of getting online. Now you can see that underneath the buttocks here you can see some slight creases in the jeans, and we want to try and get those in. So just using your fingernail you can just suggest the creases that go up. And put some on the other side. I'm just going to do these creases that are at the top of the thigh here. You need to get this quite wet so that you can blend it, but also just with your fingernail I'm just going to push the clay up a little bit, and that'll give you that little fold in the jeans. Do it the same on the other side. And just pushing the clay up, and you get a nice crease in the jeans. I'm just going to use a tool here, just dip it in water, just to get into these areas where my finger's too big to get in there. I think we'll just have a and what you can do here, just to help you be a bit more exact, if you get a wet paintbrush, not too wet, you can just manipulate the wet clay there. So we're starting to see that she's actually wearing some clothes, she's not naked. So now I just want to do the seam that runs up the back of the jeans. So again, just make a little sausage shape. It doesn't want to behave this evening, so we'll put it on. You can just do it by hand. The paintbrush is quite useful for just smoothing it out, getting the effect you want. When this dries a little bit, we can neaten it up a bit. Okay, so you're starting to see the shape of the jeans there. Now, pockets. She's got quite square pockets on the back of the jeans. So what I'm going to do here is just get a piece of clay like this and just squish it down a bit. And I'm going to place it onto here. Just manipulate it with my wet finger to create a pocket effect. You slant down slightly. And just go down to a point here. So you're just really giving an impression. You don't need to put very much on, otherwise you're going to lose the shape that you've achieved for the buttock. I'm doing this quite quickly, and I would take a lot more trouble over this if I was just working in my own time, but you'll take much more trouble over yours. And I can put this right later if it hasn't come out quite as I want it. As you know, you can sand things off, slice things off. Okay, so you're starting to see. I think that's a little bit too fat actually, but we can sort that out. I can squash it down a bit actually. I can do that. Squash it down. Take off the excess with that. And what I like to do is to, with the pocket, I'll try and suggest the opening of it here just by flipping that up a bit there to show that it has got an opening in the top. Sneaking that up a little bit. There, so hopefully you're getting the idea what I'm trying to do. Now, I think for the sake of time, I won't do the other side just now because I want to show you a bit on the front as well. So you can see how that's starting to shape up now, giving the impression of a pair of jeans. Just make that a bit more obvious there. Right, so coming around to the front now, in our picture here, you can see that across here, the crotch of the trousers, there are some very slight creases going across here, which imply that the fabric is stretched across the crotch here. So I'm going to just put a piece of clay across there. Just wipe my finger a little bit. And as we did before, I'm just going to push the clay up just to suggest the fabric going across there. Blend that into the rest of the piece. Right, and now we're going to do the flies on the jeans. So get some clay. See, this stretches right from the waistband down to just above where we've just done these creases. So I'm going to blend this into the trousers here. And at the top here, it just bulges out slightly where they do up, because as you know, flies don't lie absolutely flat. I'm going to take a bit of this clay off because I don't want it too thick. To just blend this in now. Like that. When you do these little creases and folds and things, it just makes the whole piece come to life a little bit more. I think I've shown you in the past this, which is just my example piece of how you can do trousers and get lifelike folds and drapery in them. So this will eventually look like this. But I think already you can see that they're becoming more trouser-like and less of a nude woman. So there's that. And all this will be sanded at a later stage. Okay, and looking round the back, there's the pocket on the one side that we've done already. Now you'll also get a much more realistic pair of jeans if you put the seams that run down the thigh. So if we have a look at this side, because we've got this picture is showing that particular side with that thigh. So I'm just going to put a line which runs from here, I would say. I'm just going to put a smear of clay down here like this. And then we can just indicate the seam. We're just running our finger down it like that. And taking off the excess each side. I must admit this is the bit I do like doing, all the details. You've got to have a bit of patience, but it's worth it in the end.
Liz Gamble made a witch for Halloween using some of your techniques.
Oh, well done. Very good. I think Halloween's quite a good time to do papier-mache, because I think it sort of lends itself to things like witches' faces and pumpkins, obviously. Hope you saw your grandson, Liz.
She did.
Good, good. So now that might look a little bit too pronounced at the moment, but when we come to the sanding stage, we can soften that off a bit, so it's not quite sticking out quite so much. But I think you get the idea how that's starting to look like a pair of trousers. And you would put a seam down this side of the leg as well, the inside of the leg, and also you need to do the waistband with these little belt loops that you can see on there. So all those details are going to make your piece look much more realistic. So I hope that those of you who are making this at home will have a go at doing this and spend a bit more time on it than I am, but I hope this is giving you an idea of how you just suggest things with the tiniest little bit of clay to get these realistic details in. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop there for now, because I think we're going to have a go at making, or I'm going to show you how I make a head. I'm not suggesting that you do this at home as well, but obviously if you want to you can. But I think it's because a few people have asked me how I start making something like this one. I make quite a lot of these. And in my workshops people tend to make those, so I think people you might be interested to see how it happens. So I'm just going to place that one there to dry. So making a bust, you need to find yourself a good picture. Now when I make my heads, I tend to start with an expression. Now I seem to be going for grumpy people at the moment, so there was this chap with just such a lovely frowny face, but I would suggest that you try an older face when you're having a go at making one of these, because older faces are really lovely to do. You haven't got to worry too much about getting, you know, beautifully smooth skin and things, and you can get some really lovely shapes to work with. So I particularly like this picture. It's a nice clear picture, face on. I mean, ideally I would want a profile picture as well to finish it off, but what I would, if I can't find one of this particular face, what I often do is amalgamate a couple of photographs. So for instance, I love this face as well, sort of three-quarter view. But I would like to see what he looks like from the other side as well. Now I found this photograph, which is not the same person at all, but it's close enough to be able to get both sides of the face looking quite realistic. And I don't like to sort of slavishly copy a particular picture. I often just take bits and pieces from different photographs. You know, an ear here, a nose there, an eye there. So I think this would work quite well. I might have a go at doing this one at a later date.
How did you find those?
Google. I just put in photographs, put in requests on Google. So I might say older faces, male, and you put that in, and then all sorts of lovely photographs come up. And I'm creating a file on my computer which is just called faces, and any nice interesting face I see, I store it in that file so that I can go to it for reference when I'm doing a bust. So this is the one we're going to have a look at, but first of all I'll show you how I make the armature for this. So I literally just get a piece of newspaper about this big for a bust this size, because obviously it'll be quite small when I make the armature, but when you start adding clay it just gets bigger. So you start off quite small. So about a quarter of a piece of newspaper, and just crunch it all up like this, so you get a sort of egg shape. Okay, and then with some masking tape, I just put it like that, and then just get it into a shape where you can sort of suggest a chin, and just decide which side of the face is going to be the front, which is the back. So I just sort of make it that shape there so that you can see where the neck would fit. But here's the chin here, Well, obviously it's going to look very different when you start putting the clay all over it. So when you've done that, I tend to just make a hole in it. Where's my sharp tool? This tool. And I make a hole where the neck's going to go, so that you have this sort of shape. And then I make, in the same way, a sort of very rudimentary set of shoulders with a cocktail stick sticking in it. And then I just put that onto there, and you've got the start of a head and shoulders. And that really is all you need for your armature. What I would say is, though, leave a nice long neck, much longer than you think a neck would be, because once you start putting clay on here and on the shoulders, the neck will get shorter and shorter if you haven't left a nice lot of stick showing. Okay, so that really is the start of one of those. Very, very simple. Then you cover it with clay. So this is one I did yesterday, so that it would be nice and hard today to show you. So I didn't put the clay all the way around because I don't know what sort of well, I do know what sort of hair he's going to have, this sort of hair, but there's no need to put it on yet, because we're going to just concentrate on the face at the moment. And you can see I've sort of made slight indentations where the eye sockets are going to go. So now that this is nice and hard, it'll be much easier to work on, and obviously we're building out from it now. So we've got the suggestion of the eye sockets, but we need to actually create an eye socket now. Now with this nice picture, I think I tend to start with the strongest looking feature, the thing that sort of makes me feel that makes him who he is. And in this particular picture, I think it's his brows. He's got very hooded eyes. His eyelids actually are completely hidden under these part of his brow bone here. I mean, it's just drooped so that you can't actually see his eyelids underneath. So to me, this is a very strong feature and will help us to create the eye socket, and also nice bags under his eyes here. The other thing I use is this. This is just a model of the face and the muscles of the face. As you know, I'm quite keen on anatomy of the body, and I find this quite helpful because you can see exactly how all the muscles work in the face, this one particularly, down to the mouth and the jaw.
Where did you get that one?
Now this, I was going to tell you that actually. I got it on Amazon. I think if you type into Amazon, what was it called? Head Anatomy for Artists, something like that. It will come up, and it's been really useful. I've used it a lot. You can see it really shows quite a lot of detail, and it does help you to get things in the right place. So, you know, you might look for one of those on Amazon. So here we are with this nice strong brow. So I'm going to start with my clay, and I'm going to just create this so his eyebrow arches up like that and curls round. And you're trying to make this socket in here, so try and create that space. And then on the other side, you want to be quite generous with your clay at this point, because it's much easier to manipulate if you've got plenty of clay to work with. You can always take it off. Keep wetting your finger to help spread it around. I want to try and retain this area in the middle here, so I'm going to scoop that up around there and that around there. So instantly you've created some sockets which are much more what's the word? It just creates more of a shape to your head. Looks a little bit like an alien at the moment. Okay. And then I want to do this eyelid here, this saggy eyelid. So I'm just going to put in some clay here. You might choose to start in a completely different place, depending on what strikes you most about the subject that you're sculpting. To me, his eyes are, I'm sort of drawn to his eyes, but you might have chosen to do his nose. I mean, I think a nose, actually, you can't actually do it all in one go. It's got to be done in stages, so I tend to sort of wait on the nose. She really is looking like an alien. I think you know, you have to accept that when you start your pieces, sometimes anyone looking at them will think, what on earth is she doing? But hopefully you've got a vision and you can see how it's going to end up. If Steve and Cindy are still there, I hope you didn't see some of the comments that were on Facebook when I started doing you, because quite a few people in the early stages thought I was sculpting two frogs sitting on a bench. I was telling them they're definitely not frogs, but the starting position for me, I really loved. I really loved Steve's legs. Let me just bring it forward. This leg here, that was the starting point for me. I loved the muscle in that leg, and it did look quite frog-like when it started, but it doesn't anymore. You'll be pleased to hear people are now seeing that it's not a frog at all. Right, so I'm creating now that eye socket. Okay. Right, so that's that. And this will develop as we're going on. I shall sort of tweak it as we go along, but I'm just getting the basic shapes in here now. So the next thing I want to do is to create the cheekbone here. You see this in our model, that there's quite a ledge under the eye. Now in an older person it does tend to be less of a shelf and more sort of saggy as the cheekbone ages and goes a bit saggy, but I'm going to start off with it like this, just to give us basic shape. That, and the same on the other side. It's reminding me to keep it within the camera range so you can actually see what I'm doing.
Head's in the way there. It's in the way.
My head's in the way. Hmm. Right, okay, so there's his saggy eyes there. And now there is his cheekbone here. It's hidden amongst the sort of sagginess on here, which is obviously a younger person. There's the cheekbone and it's very pronounced. So we want to put the cheekbone in, we want to indicate where it is, but it's obviously not as obvious as on a younger person. So I'm just going to put that in there. And again, there's a bit of a ledge there before it moves down there. And same over here. On this one, it sort of you can see it goes round the corner. When you're doing heads, you really have to just keep reminding yourself that it's not a flat photograph. I mean, we're working from a flat photograph, but it's a 3D head. So you have to keep sort of looking around corners to see where the face goes. I mean, this cheekbone is here, but it actually goes round the corner here, round to the side of his head. So you do need to put it in. Now, the next bit I want to do is there's quite a ridge coming down here. So I want to try and put that in, which means that we need to build out the face a little bit this way.
Angela says, how big is the head?
How big is the head? What, this head?
Yeah.
Let me have a look. It is, get my ruler the right way around. At the moment it is about 5 centimetres, but obviously we've got a long way to go down to his chin, so it'll probably end up being the size of my frowning man, as I showed you before. And I'm going to do this bit here. It's quite jowly. Now all this will be adjusted as we go along, but this is just getting the basic shapes in. Okay. Right, now the nose comes down to probably about here, I would say. But what we'll do is we'll do this part of the nose first, and then we'll do the end of the nose when this is dried a little bit more. So I'm just going to put on a very basic nose, and this is much too big and it's a bit like an elephant now. And look at the side, because obviously the nose sticks out. So I'm just going to curl that up a little bit like that, so that we get the angle of the nose here. And I'll just use my tool here to just spread this down a little bit at the sides. So you can see from the side, the nose is now protruding. Make sure his nose is straight. And he's got, it's rounded off slightly there. So we want to suggest the what do you call those? The sides of his nose here, the nostrils, that's what the word I was looking for. So we're going to just pull that up there a little bit like that, just to give ourselves an idea that that's going to be a nostril eventually. Now, as I said, I'm not slavishly following this photograph so that it looks exactly like this chap. This is just a reference photograph, so you know you can do what you like. I mean, if it's, as long as you're not doing a portrait of someone, you can make your person look at however you want him to. It's much more difficult when you're doing a portrait like Steve and Cindy, because you've got to get a good likeness. So that's quite difficult to do, and you have to look very carefully. Whenever I take on a commission, I do ask clients to send me lots of photographs of themselves from all sides, because obviously you can't just look face on at somebody. You've got to see what they look like from the sides, and if you don't get the profile correct, when you look at face on, it's not going to look right, because everything has a knock-on effect. So if you haven't got the profile right, you're not going to have the front right. So it's very important. Now this chap has got a very long top lip, and his lips are sort of tucked in, so that's what I'm going to try and achieve with this. So I think this is a little bit too long here, so I'm just going to suggest that. Now remember that the top lip curves right round, so it's don't have it flat. It's got to curve this way, and your whole model, you've got to think of it as curving this way, as well as this way. So it's all a question of keep turning it, keep looking. So you can see now that he's got quite a Roman nose, which I quite like actually. I might keep that. But you can adjust it to have whatever shape nose you like. But you can see it's starting to take shape. So with this lip now, I want to build it out at the front so that it is a definite curve. Because if we look at our model here, you can see that it's very rounded this way. So I'm going to put a little bit more clay on here so that his lip. Sorry, I keep going off the camera. It's because I'm looking at this instead of looking at what you can see on the camera.
Oh, where's the camera back over here?
Thank you, Rob.
No, I'll leave it to it.
Yeah, leave it goes like that. I'll just try and remember to go forward a bit. Right. So now have a look at the proportions of the face. So here's the nose. See where the ends of the mouth are, and they're wider than the nostrils. So if our nostrils are going to finish here, we want the mouth to finish here. So I'm just going to indicate there. And also this ridge in here. Really? Okay. So now the bottom lip, get a nice big piece of clay, put it into a sort of sausage shape, and just literally push it up like that, retaining that curve that goes this way. And you have quite a nice bottom lip. It's looking very grumpy now. It's gone 9, but we did start a bit late, so if you want me to carry on just a little bit longer, just going to lift his lip up a little bit there. So this has all been a bit rushed. I would normally take a lot more trouble over this, but just to, I hope this has given you a bit of an idea how you start to create a face. And just to finish off, if I put in these creases here, that really starts to show off then the face. And it's got quite hollowed out cheeks there. And it goes into muscle we put down here. Then sort of goes out a bit there. I think he's looking quite elderly and grumpy. Just do the other side. A bit much actually. Squash that down to get his hollowed out cheek. And then that jowly face. Yeah. So, starting to look more like an elderly face now. So I think we'll stop there, and I might carry on with this one and show you next time how he's turned out. I quite like his face actually. So there you go, the start of how to make a bust. And what I tend to do is to get the basics in, as I've just shown you, and then there'll be a lot of refining. And by refining I mean, first of all I give it a sand, and by sanding it you really see the areas that need attention, and you know, where perhaps proportions are wrong or things need to be added or taken away. And that's a good time to do it, because then you can really get into the details then. Put the finer features in, so the eyes have got to go in, the nostrils, any sort of lines and wrinkles. So here, look, he's got some lovely wrinkles in his chin, which would be fun to do, and then all this jowliness around here. And obviously then you've got to put in his eyebrows. There's all sorts of lovely details you can do, which would really give it lots of character. So have a go. If you haven't made faces before, have a go, see how you get on. And what I wanted to tell you actually, and you might like to do this, we thought that as the next session we have, it will be the December one, and it'll be the last one before Christmas. We thought it'd be nice to have a bit of a sharing here. So if you want to send me photographs of work that you've done, not necessarily papier-mâché, if you're a painter or a potter or whatever you do, if you want to send some photos of what you do, send them to my email address, which I'll give you in a minute, and we'll show them on the next session, and we can all share each other's work then and see what we're all doing. So if you'd like to do that, my email address is debbiecourt25@gmail.com. I think we can put that on as a link, can't we, Rob? In case you forget that. But send them along, and we'll see what we can, how many we can show. So our next session is on the 4th of December. So if you get them to me in plenty of time for that, then we can load them up and show all the photos on that evening. And in the meantime, we'll carry on with our lady in her jeans, and hopefully I'll be able to show you how I've got on with Steve and Cindy on their bench, They might even have it by then, you never know. Depends how much I get done in the next few weeks. But I hope you've enjoyed this evening, and come again next time. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, and have a good month till I see you again. Bye for now.